Hi everyone and welcome to Fabricville. Today I'm sharing a tutorial to create this blazer jacket using the Simplicity S9825 pattern. I'll be making it in this brown suede fabric using a leopard print satin for the lining. You'll also need thread, fusible interfacing, 3 buttons of 2.2 cm diameter, and 4 buttons of 1.5 cm diameter. To start, I've cut out the pieces, and here's the ones I've fused with the interfacing. The front facing, the front, the top collar, the 2 parts of the under collar. For the sleeves, I'm going to interface 5 cm wide strips at the sleeves hem corners. And for the back, I placed the interfacing piece as indicated on the pattern, only on the upper part of the back. Before starting the assembly, I will do some basting stitches at the sleeve corners and the inner corners of the front as well as on the facing. Now I will start assembling the jacket pieces. I take the back piece, pin the side piece to it, and then pin the front piece. I sew, then press the seams open. Next, I assemble the shoulders and the under collar. I pin the edges of the under collar to the front piece of the jacket, matching the markings. I sew and press open. Then I pin the collar to the back neckline, and in continuation, I form the pleat at the front. I sew, clip the seam allowances and press open. I now assemble the lining pieces just like I did for the jacket fabric. The difference is that the front piece is divided into 2 parts, one being the fabric facing. And just like the outer jacket, I'll sew the collar top to the neckline. Now I stack the fabric and lining pieces and I begin pinning the collars together. I sew and clip the corners. Then I pass the collar to the outside between the lining and the jacket. I pin it in place. I also pin the facings to the facing edges of the jacket all the way to the bottom hem. I've clipped the seam allowances at the facing hem markings and pressed the seam open. I sew right up to the folded seam allowances of the facing. Then I attach the bottom of the jacket to the lining, leaving an opening for turning. I clip the corners, and with the wrong side facing up, I fold the hem at the bottom edge and press it. Then I sew it with the catch stitch, always leaving the opening in the center. Finally, I turn the jacket right side out and press the collar on the front edges. Now, moving on to the sleeves, I pin the two parts of the sleeves together, starting by stitching the back sleeve seam. I sew and press the seams open. Now I'm going to shape the sleeve hems. The bottom of the sleeve top is cut on the bias. I fold the edge over itself, stitch, and press to form an angle. I fold the other edge over itself and stitch along the pattern line. Then I fold the sleeve in half and stitch from the sleeve cap down to the hem angle. Next, I sew two basting lines with large stitches between the sleeve cap markings. I gather lightly and pin the sleeve to the armhole. I sew. Similarly, I assemble the lining sleeve. By folding the sleeve in half, I mark the markings at the sleeve hem angle. I sew the back sleeve seam, leaving the angle free for now. Then I assemble the sleeve as I did before. I place the lining sleeve inside the jacket sleeve. I pin the bottoms together to make sure they align correctly. Next, I'll work on the wrong side of the sleeves, pulling them through the back opening. I pin the lower edges together, starting from the side seam. And I sew. I check the free lining corner edges inside and sew them together before hand finishing the back opening. Final step, the buttons and the buttonholes according to the markings on the pattern. There are two buttons of 1.5 centimeters at the sleeve hems, and for the front we have one 2.2 centimeters button on the left side and two on the right side, one on the outside and the other at the same place on the inside. And our blazer is finally done. Making this blazer requires technique and precision, but as you move through each step, you'll gain confidence and see your progress. I hope this tutorial has inspired you to take on this project. Happy sewing and see you soon!